is your time. You worked very hard to get where you are, an inspiration to many, a mentor, a rainmaker, and a successful boss. But the one thing you've never done well is now the one skill you have to learn: public speaking. Great leaders throughout time have always shown their power from the stage. Now is the most essential ability for anybody to be seen as a change maker, industry expert, high achiever, or thought leader. Do you have a fear of public speaking? Are you missing out? Does your tribe need a chief executive officer who can command and motivate from on stage? Is your message getting lost because you need to be able to present from conferences, events, and global forums? My name is Dave Crane. I've worked on stage for over 4 decades. I've done every kind of entertainment, and I train leaders around the world to find their voice, realize their power, and dominate their industry. I've worked alongside some of the smartest names and most respected business coaches in the world. I train world leaders, industry experts, and high achievers to speak. What do you need? Do you need to share an idea, a theory, a formula, or an invention? Do you need to position yourself among the best of your peers as a key voice to lead into the digital age? Do you need to elevate and grow your personal brand? Are you ready to share stages and concepts among the most innovative minds, producing viral videos and great speeches on a global scale? Most leaders who are great communicators fail with a microphone because they don't know stagecraft. They don't know how to engage, entertain, and motivate large crowds. But when you do know how, it's just like breathing.
Good morning, it's me, Dave Crane. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far, a wonderful morning, or wonderful evening. Depends on whereabouts in the world you are, really, because we go out from the UAE around about 11, 12 o'clock every day, and lots to share today, but I never know where you are in the world, so please let me know. Say hi, first of all, so hi, that's the start, and then say whereabouts in the world you are from, and just give us a wave. I'll always love to know where you are in terms of timing. So it could be that, for instance, that if you're waking up in the UK, then say hello, and you're probably going to take the kids to school quite soon, so don't watch it and drive at the same time, because otherwise you'll never get to school. Mind you, the roads are probably quite quiet, so you can probably get away with swerving, but don't try it. Anyway, and also, if you're in, say, India or subcontinent, right about now it'll be afternoon, late afternoon, early afternoon, and so hello to you too. And if you're in Australia, then it's going to be early evening, lunchy time, I guess. No, not lunchtime, dinner time. And if you're in America, you're probably fast asleep. So it doesn't matter where you are, as long as you see the show. But the thing is, you might not see the show, because we're broadcasting live to YouTube, to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to Periscope and Twitter, and we put it on Instagram as well. So you might miss the initial opportunity to be able to catch a show straight away. So what I suggest you do is turn the music down a bit, because it's a little bit intrusive. There we go. So what I always recommend to do is make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and connect with me on all the social media platforms. So as soon as I go live, it should give you a little alert saying Dave's live, catch him now. Now today's show, I'm really excited about, and the reason I'm running out slightly later than normal is I wanted to make sure I've got everything right before we actually started this show today. So, yes, controversial, not that much, well, quite a lot. Now, it's all about the presidential debate. Now, here's the thing. Let me just put as a caveat before we start anything. I am not going to be talking about Trump and Biden at all, from a point of view of politics. My politics are private to me. Who I would choose as my president is of no relevance to anybody, because I'm not even American and I live in Dubai. So that's nothing to do with it. What I do say though is I'm fascinated by the way that people speak, because Speak on Stage is all about the fact I train politicians, ambassadors, celebrities, decision makers, CEOs, all manner of big decision maker all around the world. I coach them to be industry icons. And so whenever I see something that's all about the debate, all about the conversations, I find it fascinating to be able to break down what it takes to be a really powerful and persuasive speaker. So let's put this in some kind of idea. So we're going to be talking about the debates, and they were on just a few hours ago. I don't know if you managed to catch them, but it's not so important. To be honest with you, it's a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a bun fight, and it's very difficult to hear about policies, but we always knew it was going to be about that. It was always going to be about a couple of different bits of a battleground. I'll be explaining what those are a little bit later on. I'll be sharing with you a couple of things that I think you really enjoy. I'll be sharing with you a clip from the Toilet Paper Diaries, which is a show I do once a week with my brother from another mother, Ernesto Verdugo, who's based in Houston. We've got another episode doing live tomorrow, by the way, so don't miss it. And on one of the shows last week, we talked about Biden versus Trump and the whole campaign, not just the big debate, but I found it fascinating to look at what happened in the debate, to be able to break down what you should do if you're in a situation where, like this, you're up against an opponent or up against opponents, and what happens is it's a winner-take-all situation. Whatever you do will be the deal breaker and the one that makes people remember you from years to come. Now, in most situations, if you're on a debate stage or if you're in some kind of panel on stage at some kind of industry event, it's very rarely so cutthroat. Most of the time, everyone behaves and they play the right game, and they're nice to each other, but it doesn't mean that it's not up for debate as to who actually won the event. So let's put this in some kind of a perspective, because I coach people before they go on stage at these kind of events. If you go on and you just go, hi, I'm John, and I represent the company that does IT in the region, and so as a result of that, I want to just say a couple of things we're up to, but somebody else comes up and goes, hi, I'm Billy, bang, 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 that's why you should work with us. Billy will walk away with a gig. Now, I know you're saying it's not a gig, it's a conversation, you've been invited on a panel, but trust me, it is. Otherwise, if you're not looking to get something out of it, why have you said yes? Why are you on it at all? There's better things you could be doing, like working on your job. I know it's PR, I know it's an opportunity to meet and reach new people, but that doesn't mean necessarily you should go on it without some kind of agenda. Now, the agenda doesn't have to be, I want to sell, but it should be definitely that I want to represent. I don't want people to see me, and I want to see my brand and gravitate towards it. And sometimes it isn't a big break that makes a huge difference to the end result. And I don't think in this case it is a huge difference either. Now, I'm being relatively serious today. Normally I talk about the money and I get my squeeze toys out and I do lots of crazy stuff, but today I want to be really specific about this. Today's debate, in my opinion, from the studies that I've done with my dear friend Ernesto Verdugo, is there's a thing called the 13 Keys to the White House, and you should look at it. And it's written by a guy called Alan Lichtman, who has written and he's predicted correctly the last 8 or the last 10 presidential winners, including Trump. When everyone said Trump was going to win, he said Trump will win. Yes, exactly. And the reason they put it down to winning is if you get 13 of the key elements that allow you to win the White House, it doesn't matter when you actually sit down for the elections, it doesn't matter how much debates, how many polls go on, who does them, all the rest of it, it makes no difference. The 13 things that make it happen. And we talked about this on the Toilet Paper Diary, so I'm going to share with you part of the predictions that we made about the strategy that's being used by the Trump side and the strategy that's being used by the Biden side. Only so you can see the different options that you would have if you were taking part in some kind of a debate. And also because if you're a fan of watching what's going on, even if you haven't got any skin in the game, as they say, and you're not American and you're not voting on one side or the other, and you're just interested to see how it all pans out, you can see a breakdown of what's going on below the scenes as part of the infrastructure and the games that are being played. So I think you'll find that fascinating. And also, I've got something exclusive for you as well. Let me explain. When I talk about this stuff, I hope you find it fascinating. I love to have your feedback, your comments. Share it, start a watch party, like it. All these things make a big difference for getting more people to watch it and connect. And also learn, because ultimately this is all about teaching you how to be more effective on a stage. But also, you're going to turn around and say, Dave, what do you know? You've never done that. Now, first of all, I can tell you categorically, I've been on so many stages around the world, hosting events, speaking on events, being a guest or a participant, an entertainer. I've hosted events that have gone on for days and all sorts of stuff. And every single one takes a different hat that you put on your head and a different way that you've got to get a result and a win of some description by the end of it. So you're saying, right, Dave, what would you know about going out in front of a live audience with the pressure on you? Well, I have got a clip I will share with you later on, which will prove to you that I can do it. I was on a reality TV show called Blind Date many years ago. I'm going to show you a little clip from that in a few moments' time. I'll explain it with a build-up towards what was going on. I'm not going to devote this show to me and that show at all, because I don't think that's what's important, but I just want to prove to you that I can and have done that kind of thing before, so I know pretty much what I'm talking about. So I'd love your feedback. I love your questions. As always, I want to know what bits you'd like us to talk about in the future. I do not, and I promise you, I do not want to get into who's going to win Trump versus Biden. This is of no interest to me at this stage. It is of interest to me personally, but the thing is, I don't want to use this as a platform to drive any kind of propaganda. What I do want to say to you is it's a huge opportunity for you to look at the way that people debate, look at the way people talk, look at the bigger game that's being played around the debate, and also to see how your brand, your personal brand, the way you speak, the way you relate to people, the way they relate to you, and ultimately the message you send will have a long-term impact on the way that people will perceive you. And this also makes another big difference, because whatever you put out online, you might have good days and bad days, but they will come back to haunt you if you haven't considered them properly. So always be very careful. If you're having a bad day, don't post. If you're having a good day, then say, well, do I want to share with everybody my good day? Maybe you've made some money. Maybe you've been very successful in love. Had a good time last night. I don't know. It's up to you. But the point is that after you've got over that initial woohoo, don't even think about that. Think about what that means to other people who are watching. That's the key. Are you fascinated? I love this subject. I love it because I want to talk all about this. We're going to show you some clips. We're going to make you go wow. And also I'd love to have your feedback. So let's just dive in. As always, your feedback comes through. I answer everything as it comes, whether you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, or Instagram. I love to have your connections. I love you to like, to subscribe, and to keep watching. This is Speak on Stage. So welcome back to Speak on Stage, and my name is Dave Crane. This show is about teaching you to be an effective communicator, whether you want to be positioned as one of the best in your industry, or you just have a presentation you've got to make. And the big twist on everything nowadays, of course, is that you're doing it online. There are very few live stages to go on as a speaker, but I think if anything has become a lot more intricate and a lot more possibilities, because in order to have any meeting, you're doing it online, do it through Zoom or MS Teams or Hangouts or whatever it is you're using. And so it's really difficult to gauge what's happening with the people in front of you unless you are trained to understand audiences and trained to understand the communications that you're making with people. So with that, I'm going to dive straight in. I'm going to take you back about 25 years ago to me, a much younger version of me, no beard, a lot less grey hair, probably no grey hair at that time, taking part in a British show called Blind Date. Now, Blind Date was a dating game, which has a huge backstory in the US as well. But at the time, it was one of the first reality TV shows. In fact, to put it in perspective, if you were British, then what would happen is you had two shows that were reality TV shows. The first one would be Blind Date, and it was on a Saturday night. And Saturday night is a big party night for anybody, or was in the UK when I was growing up. So on a Saturday night, you'd watch Blind Date while you're having your dinner with your family. And then later on, you'd get a shower and you'd go out and watch... I'm sorry, let me get the other way around. It's the other way around. You'd watch Gladiators, which would be a show all about people taking a competition all about being sporty up against each other. Some big guys up against the Gladiators. Anyway, not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. I'd like to watch it while I eat my dinner, but that was it. Then you'd go on, and while you're getting ready to go out for a Saturday night out, you watch Blind Date, which was a dating show. So you end up with two parts to a show. First part was three competitors all pitching to entice a person on the other side of the wall. So you got three on one side and one on the other, who would be picking from the answers of the three who they wanted to actually go on a date with. And it was a big thing in the UK at the time, and people became reality TV stars on the back of it, and so on and so forth. At the time, I was very young, not now anymore, and a lot wiser now. I would never go to a reality TV show if you paid me, no. But in those days, it was different about credibility. I was on the radio at the time, so it kind of made sense for my brand at the time. There was no internet, so, or there was one of those internets where you had to take your phone up the hook and connect it, and it go, and the phone wasn't on for ages, and then maybe it'd connect or maybe it wouldn't connect, and then you'd be able to press a button and maybe get access to the slowest loading page of all time. And in those days, of course, what would happen was you'd get a page of whatever you're looking at and say, would you like to sign up for our email or for our newsletter? And go, yes, and you couldn't wait to put down your email address just to see if that would send you what would now be seen as the worst spam ever, but in those days it was really exciting. Do you remember those days? Yes, no? Doesn't matter. Bear with me. So the show Blind Date, you had three guys and one girl. The girl would pick from the three guys, and then on the other part of the show, you'd have three girls and one guy. And they'd go away on a date, and sometimes it got on really well, sometimes they hated each other, and it was all laugh about funny stuff. Cilla Black, by the way, was the name of a very famous host of the show, and she's a sweetheart. She's no longer with us, but she was a big pop star, and she was lovely when I met her. So this was a Christmas show that I won. I'm not going to show you that episode. I'll do the whole thing as an antidote to reality TV and how to win it later on. I won the show and used a strategy, and I'll share that strategy with you, but I learned a lot about working behind the scenes. First of all, let me share with you, this is when we come back after our date. We went to Lapland. Yeah. And it was cold. And I'm not going to spend any time talking about the date. All I want to say is you realize that there's a couple of different things that are going on. There's four battles going on when you see the little clip I'm going to share with you. The first one is you and the other person, or both of you competing to see who gets the best airtime and who looks best. Okay, even if it's a dating game, that particular season I was in, people being nasty, the girls are always rubbishing the guys, saying they're not good enough. And as a result of that, the guys would go, yeah, I'm great, please love me. And the guys would look pathetic because it looked like they're begging to be loved. And if you do that, then you just end up looking weak. So that's what I knew going into the show, so there was no way I was going to do that. The second battle is a battle between you and the moderator or the host of a TV show. Now, it's not a battle necessarily, but what you have to do is you have to play a game of working with them. If you don't look like you're good enough to hold a microphone and speak and give them good TV, now this is the key. Not win a debate, not win an argument, give good TV in sound bites that are amusing, they're engaging, and they think they've done their job properly, then they will jump in and cut you off mid-sentence to go on to the next chance to bring out some good TV. Now this is an important battle, an important thing to bear in mind, because this may go counterintuitively to what it is that you're actually trying to create. So you've got the first thing, your natural competitor or your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it is on the show. Then you've got the second thing is the person who's hosting the show, who has to have the confidence just to let you go, knowing that you're going to bring the show back and they can rescue it or do whatever they need to do a little later. The third battle is the audience in front of you. The audience in front of you will go with whatever they feel is a natural reaction. They'll boo, they'll cheer, they'll scream, or they'll be in silence. All of them can have a big impact on the end result of what it is that you get from being on the show, because the people at home are going to realize all the way through that whatever reaction the audience has is going to be the reaction that they have. So you've got to win the audience, and I can tell you that I was on the bad books of the audience because of the things that I said earlier in the show. And if you want to see it on YouTube, look it up, Dave Crane Blind Date. There's 2 episodes, you can watch them themselves. I will in a future show share with you exactly what happened and maybe tell you some stuff behind the scenes, but maybe not, because I was involved in secrecy about 25 years ago and I couldn't really care less now. So I'll tell you, so that's the third battle. You've got the competitor, you've got the host, you've got the audience in the studio, and the fourth one is the audience watching at home. Now, the key to the audience watching at home is they may like you, they may not like you. They'll make a decision like everybody else. Imagine going in for a job interview. And the minute you walk in, they've decided they like you or don't like you from your mannerisms, from your smile, from the way you dress, your hair, all these things. You could be on the back foot, or there's an instant win, in which case you're just going to tick all the rest of the boxes. Or maybe they'll give you a hard time and try and get rid of you, but then you turn it around and show you the best candidates, in which case they go for you and work with you in the end. So the people at home are making the same judgment, but the deal is, if you can get the studio audience to cheer or scream or boo or whistle or do anything like that, then you can get the audience at home, who are the millions of people watching the show, to go, yes, I agree. Because there's an emotional Wi-Fi connection between a studio audience and an audience at home. Now that's a battleground. Now I'm going to show you a clip in a few moments' time of me being on that particular show, winning in New Year. So I won it on Christmas Day. That's where I came to Dubai, right? And as I came to Dubai, to get away with everything, get away from everything, long story, people had seen that TV show because people had got them on VHSs and sent them to their friends in Dubai. So when I arrived, people were going, "You're the guy from Blind Date, aren't you?" I'm going, "That was 9 months ago. How do you know?" We just watched the Christmas show again, and it was very funny. And did this happen? And you couldn't tell anybody because it's kind of embarrassing. But anyway, so the clip I'm going to show you is only about a minute long, but bear in mind that the girl hated me. The audience had kind of warmed to me because of a story I told them earlier, but I can't tell you what it is. You'll have to see it yourself. But then I had to make sure that the TV host, Cilla Black, didn't interrupt me. I had to prove that I was giving good TV and get away with it so the audience at home would say, "Great job done." Those are a lot of factors to get in to that situation. So I'm going to share that with you right now. I think you'll enjoy it because it proves what I'm talking about, and it proves exactly how I deal with people when it comes to being very effective on a stage. So that's up next on Speak on Stage.
You said on film there, I mean, she was smiling and giggling all the time, and it was beginning to wear you down.
Well, there's one thing that hasn't been mentioned, right, and I'll show you. If you sit next to Mass and you go... that is what happens. Now, one little clue from that, she hates whistling. Now, she hits you if you do it, and I can see it when we get married, obviously. 2 years down the line, that'll be a thumb on the head. 5 years down the line, when there's loads of little kids running about, she'll be running through the house with a baseball bat saying, "Oh, whistle, there's one of you!" Like.
I can't stand whistling. It does my brain in. And once I...
stop it!
1, 2, 3.
You asked for it, Matt.
I hated whistling. He did it more and more and more.
But I did the rest of it from out of arm's length so she couldn't hit me, so I was all right.
So there you go. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to know what you think of that. Yes, I look very young, and I apologize. It was deeply pixelated, but it was about 30 years ago on TV. Now let me explain a little bit more what we're going to look at next. Next clip is myself and Ernesto analyzing what went on with the Trump-Biden election campaign leading up to the actual presidential debate. And the battle that I think has been going on, from my interpretation of the way both sides are playing it. I'd love to know your thoughts on that, but here we go with another clip. Hope you enjoy it. This is Speak on Stage.
Possibly you can run us through the process of why we say that he's the ultimate reality show participant and how the elections are exactly like a reality show.
So let's get back into the news of the week. Let's talk about Donald Trump and also Joseph Biden as competitors in a reality TV show. Now, the thing is, Donald Trump is very well known for being the host of The Apprentice and going, "You're fired," to everybody, and became incredibly popular as a kind of Disney villain type character for that. Now, what that means is because of his knowledge of TV, his entire running up to the elections of 2016 and his entire presidency have been played like he's still in a reality TV show. Because the important factors that go into it means you've got to have people watching who are observing what's going on. You've got to have somebody who's playing games, and you've got to have an X factor that means you can't take your eyes off them. So what is that would make it all work? Well, the danger is, well, it's not the danger so much. We're trained to keep our eyes on things that might be difficult for us to deal with. So for instance, if you're going to an event and you see 100 people, of which you say, "What do you think of a new suit?" And 99 say it looks great, and one says it looks terrible, you look like a clown, you might be dressed as a clown, you remember that one person. Now here's the whole point. If you can be that one person every time, everybody will remember everything you said, and it'll blot out the 99 nice things that are being said by other people, because it's built into our DNA to keep an eye out for danger in case it threatens us. So if one player is able to do that all the time, the whole world's going to be watching them. And guess who that's been for the last 3.5 years?
Let's talk about some examples. For me, I think the most memorable example, and the funny thing is, he even took her to the administration at the very beginning. I mean, do you remember on the first Apprentice, Omarosa was the one that really killed it on that show, because she was playing the game in the exact same way.
I didn't come here to make friends. I said that from day one.
Right?
Absolutely. She realized it's not a game show. It's not an opportunity to bond with people and make lifelong friends. It is you versus the rest of them. And it really depends on what kind of game you want to play. If you want to be part of some, reunion in 5 years' time where you all sit and eat cakes and say, "You know what, we didn't win, but we made a real lifetime buddy." She didn't want that. She's never wanted that. You can see that with the way that she's played it. But that's why she's one of the most memorable people from the entire show. And that's why clearly, despite whatever politics he may assume to have in public, he chose for her to be part of his administration because they're like birds of a feather. Very interesting to see. And with the game shows, there's always somebody that stands out because they play a different game to everybody else. Mm-hmm. Let's have a look at some examples. Can you think of any, Nestor?
Well, I mean, one of the guys that I can think of is this guy, Dr. William in Big Brother. I don't remember which season it was, season 6 or season 9 or whatever it was. I didn't really watch the whole Big Brother, but of course, I mean, he was on the news constantly, and he was really making it, he was an a-hole, and he was just basically making it clear for everybody that that's what he was.
He made it perfectly clear from the very beginning. He hated everybody else in the house. He couldn't see a redeeming feature for anybody in the house. But there's a really interesting mindset behind doing that. If you turn around and you disparage everybody, they're on the back foot. If they act like they care, especially in a reality TV show where you're going to be voted as being popular, they're spending the rest of the time saying catch up. They're playing catch up to be back in the good books, which means that he's already won before you start the game. Yeah. If you turn around and say, "No, you're not good enough for me. You're not good enough for me. I don't care what you do. It's not good enough. Take your money. It's not good enough money for me." That's exactly the game he was playing, and he won. That's why it was so powerful. I remember that other guy, I can't remember what his name was, who was on Survivor, who played some really dirty tricks.
Yeah,
might have been Neville or something like that. And what he did was, right from the very beginning, he changed the rules of the game. The rules are laid out, you're going to be the survivor at the very end, but what if you reprogram it? Now, the time I saw before this, which always stuck in my head, I've actually used it as a bit of a template, is in Star Trek, because Captain Kirk is the only person that ever managed to beat the Mahari Moran game or something, which is part of the test, because he reprogrammed the computers before he went in. So he's the only person that could possibly win. What we're talking about is doing that in real life.
this guy was the one that burned the socks and threw away the water from the other competitors, right?
And he also was, as he did that, he got the idol, which let him get a free pass so he couldn't be voted off the island after he'd done it. So when we turned around and said, we hate you, we're going to get rid of you, most unpopular person, he goes, no, get out of jail trump card. I shouldn't have called it trump card. Get out of jail card. And I can instantly stay on regardless. Maybe the world now is more of a villain shape than a hero shape. Well, the hero can play the whole game before, but the villain just has to step in there and get what he or she wants.
Exactly. The funny thing is, I mean, just so that actually we can put things into perspective, this week, another crazy thing. Trump says that he's going to create an executive order, so if he loses that Biden will not be able to actually become president. I mean, he's basically doing the same thing as this guy from Survivor.
But this is a different game he's playing. This is playing a game of misdirection, which is like that. Look at that, and you don't see what this hand is doing. And that's a genius. And I think that that's something that, regardless of like Trump, don't like Trump, he's the master of this in a way that I've never in my life ever met anybody or seen anybody who can get the whole world to look in a wrong direction while he's doing something over there. He's brilliant at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I mean, look about what happened this week. I mean, first of all, there's not going to be a deal with TikTok. TikTok's going to be banned. And it was supposed to be banned on Sunday. And then almost at the end of the Sunday, suddenly he goes and tells everybody, no, we of course going to have the deal. And now it's not going to be only Oracle, but it's also going to be Walmart. And of course, all the TikTokers get very excited. And then the next morning he says, no, there's not going to be any deal. He's just basically moving everybody like if there will be puppets. It's just
he's making them dance, which is appropriate for TikTok.
Yeah.
He's playing the same game. So why would he do that? Why would he want to have that? Well, the thing about Trump is he's brilliant at owning all the eyeballs.
Exactly.
All the time the world is watching him. And it's crazy numbers. I mean, to a point where you can only outdo Trump by being a bigger Trump than Trump is. And there's nobody bigger. There's nobody who's got more stories, more juice. And he's brilliant in front of a microphone. He just owns and dominates. Like him or not, you can't take your eyes off him. Every single thing is brilliant.
Absolutely, it's genius. It's just incredible how is he doing it. So he's getting all the distraction from one side, and look at what's happening with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which of course, I mean, they're trying to get the nomination from her. But anyway, let's go back to what we were talking about, the games. Another guy that I remember, every time that I saw him, I thought that he was absolutely disgusting. Was this this drag guy, remember?
The best came in season 4 of Drag Race, which featured Chad Michaels, a Dead Ringer Cher impersonator.
I'm Cher, bitch!
Sharon Needles, who was equal parts punk rock and comedy, and Latrice Royale.
Get those nuts away from my face!
But in a field of talented, funny drag queens, it felt like one in particular, Fifi O'Hara, was dominating all the airtime. How? By bringing the heat to anyone and everyone. Everyone hated her. She was the worst. I hated watching her. It was awful. But at the same time, I couldn't look away.
At least I am a showgirl, bitch. Go back to Party City where you belong.
If you can out-drag all the drag artists on Drag Race, you must be doing something special. And the thing was, the guy we're talking about was by no means the most talented or the most funny, but definitely the most bitchy, and definitely the biggest in-your-face complainant. And if you think about what the show's about, is it about winning, or is it about being remembered and getting work after it? To be honest with you, it's probably the second one. So that's why he comes out as possibly one of the biggest standout stars, because he played the un-game. He played the unpopular, un-rules-driven one, and he played a different game that he created himself, which is, whatever happens, I'm not joining in. And it's a really powerful way to do it. The whole thing can't move on if somebody stands in the middle of the road and goes, no, not going forward. You got to get me going with you. And that's a game that he's playing. And Trump's brilliant at doing this. Thanks for watching the show. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you watch all the videos over here. There's 2 choices for you. Or, of course, I'm Dave Crane coming from Dubai.
And this is Ernesto Verdugo coming from Houston.
And I think we should send a message. Hold on.
What is this?
subscribe. So there we go, that's a clip from a Toilet Paper Diaries, new episode on tonight. Watch it about 9 o'clock Dubai time, and that'll be about 12 o'clock Houston for Ernesto as well. We'll go out live every single week. So where does that leave you? So if Trump is a reality TV show star who's changing the role and being a magician and moving everything around, how do you take down somebody who's so charismatic, despite the fact he's got a big audience who loves him and hates him at the same time? Excuse me. The key to it has to be, I think, that Muhammad Ali did. And it was called the rope-a-dope. He was fighting against George Foreman, who's this big, hulky, stronger, more enduring fighter than Ali, who was at the top of his game. And Ali knew that if he went head-to-head, he would be out-punched and out-hit by George Foreman, who was just so much bigger and stronger. So it's called the Rumble in the Jungle, it was called. And basically, it was called the rope-a-dope. So what happened was they went out, ding-ding, started the fight, and Muhammad Ali pulled up his gloves, went against the ropes, and tucked in. Now, George Foreman came out, smack, 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 big punches, hitting him non-stop for 9 rounds. And it looked like he won 9 rounds. Ali was getting punched to bits, but the ropes were taking the weight of everything. He just came in solid, and it might have bruised him, hurt his arms and so on, but he covered his vital organs, and he managed to get away with it for 9 rounds. And then something fascinating happened. George Foreman outpunched himself. His hands dropped. He couldn't keep lifting them and punching him, so Ali then got into battle, turned round, bang, 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 done. That was it. Foreman was down, Ali won. End of story. I think it's 9th or 10th round he took him out. So here's the thing. If you're not strong enough to take on a bigger competitor, then maybe you let them tire themselves out. And as long as you still hold up your gloves and prove you're still competing, still doing what you need to do, then maybe you can get away with a situation where they're louder, they're more in your face, but you just score a few jabs and a few bits and pieces and you manage to get away with it. Interesting. When you look at the Biden versus Trump debate, you take a choice. What happened there? Was it the same as Rumble in the Jungle? I'd like to know your thoughts. Share it with me here. We love your thoughts, we love your comments, we'd love to know what you think of it. Next up, what we're going to do is I'm going to take a big deep dive into what you need to consider every time you take part in a debate, and also, in my opinion, how you'd win a presidential debate. So if you just joined us, so good to see you. My name's Dave Crane, and welcome to Speak on Stage. Every day we go live across LinkedIn, across Facebook, across YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope, and Instagram to let you know what I think of the ways that things are happening in the world, covering a lot of different stuff. But today it's all about how to win a presidential debate. And I find today fascinating, not least because of the fact that I didn't want to leave this till tomorrow. I'm slightly late going out today purely because I wanted to make sure that what we talked about today was actually right on point, because people will be talking about it across the news of the world, and I want to get here first to let you see. Now, this is not chosen for any particular reason. I'm not going to choose politics. You probably already deduced I am black, and so therefore you can see probably where my politics would be, but it might not be exactly what you think, but you can see a few things there. So I'm showing you anyway Anderson Cooper on a presidential debate circuit. It's a stage that I saw on Google. I haven't chosen the Democratic one over the Republican one. Mind, we didn't have the Republican one this year. I just chose a really nice picture to illustrate before anybody says, yeah, but you're choosing sides. No. We've got plenty more to do than that. So let's get straight into the exact points I want to make. So, first thing is this: study your opponent's previous fights so you know what they do under duress. So if they go out fighting non-stop or they take it really quietly and build up, whatever they do is a real clue as to what you do when you catch them off guard. Even if it come out differently this time, the odds are that you can predict where they're going to go when you stress them out. With that in mind, they may use the same structure and they may use the same battleground every single time, purely because when they do it, they know they get a win. So I think that that's kind of what Trump was doing and kind of what Biden was doing in this particular, and I'm not going to say who won, who didn't win. That's nothing to do with me. I'm just saying what I think is underneath what was going on there. And again, with neutrality, please don't give me hater messages or any of that stuff, or he said that. I don't care. That's your choice. Keep it there, otherwise I'll delete it. I just want to know what you thought from a neutral point of view, okay? Okay, number 2, persuade the audience about what is going to happen. Let me put this in perspective, and it's not easy to do. You've got to have a lot of confidence, and it's maybe only on a presidential debate that you can do that. But supposing one of the contestants comes out and says to the audience, remember you've got you've got the audience, you've got 4 battles. First one is against the competitor you're up against. Second one is up against the moderator to make sure that they give you a chance to speak and say what you need to say. Third one is the audience cheering in front of you, and the fourth one is the audience at home. Remember that in that order. So you've got to be very careful about how you drive this to make sure you get the very best out of everybody. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So persuade the audience what is about to happen. That might mean coming out there and saying from the very beginning, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, everything you see here is not going to be a result of the success that you see here. The damage has already been done, and it doesn't matter what they're going to say. They're going to lie to you, and everything you've got to take with a pinch of salt. Look at their track record. Now, that might be a terrible thing to say. People say, oh, that's a bit rude. But just imagine you started by saying that. That means that people have got a different world. If you're doing a sales meeting and you say to a client who's not really interested in buying your stuff, imagine what happens once you've bought it and how your life would change. They can't answer unless they imagine what would happen if they'd bought it and their lives had changed. They might say, well, it wouldn't be any different, but they had to go there. They got over their own obstacles. So you preset the audience on the build up towards it. Let everybody know what's going to happen, and you had that happening with the comments from Trump about Sleepy Biden and his taking drugs, video drug test, all the rest of it. So it's really interesting. You've got to look at it as a separate gig. You can persuade them before you get there, or you can persuade them as you arrive. The faster you do it, the more likely that they're going to be playing your game than any other game as the whole thing progresses. All right, number 3 is this one. Get the pulse of the moderator and the tone of the event. In this case, you had Chris Wallace, who is a Fox News presenter, but he's a very fair presenter in the fact that he's combative with everybody. Doesn't matter who comes on his show, he asks some tough questions because he wants to get the very best out of them. Now that's very important, because if you answer his tough questions and you let him go back into whatever he wants to as the next question, but you prove you're playing you've got 2 minutes to speak, I'll take the 2 minutes and I'll speak. I won't do a different game, I'll do it exactly the way that you want it to, then the moderator instantly, subconsciously says, this person is working with me. Therefore, I will make sure that we stick to the game. There's 3 of us in debate, 2 of us are on the same side, 1 of us clearly isn't. And I want that other person to come back onto the side. Not right and wrong side, but let's make the show work properly side. If that other person doesn't do it, then the moderator starts to get a little bit wound up, and that's another part of the battlegrounds, the 4 battlegrounds I talked about. So get the tone of the event, and it might change all the way through, because you're also part of setting the tone. So as this is going on, and as things are progressing, then you look at number 4, dominate on the attack and on the counter-punch as well. So what does that mean? Well, when you're attacking, get in there, make it happen. When you're counter-punching, then let them say what they want to say, but then have a comeback, bang, that comes out and scores some major points. Because remember, this is not just about a debate of having judges going who's right, who's wrong, and scoring points like a real boxing match or MMA fight. This is something where the soundbite battle, the social media battle continues long after, for the years after the presidency has changed, when people turn around and say, that was the pivotal moment. And it's a battle that goes on to social media that might have nothing to do with the actual evening. It's literally like having a buffet and people choose what was their favorite dish as you share with everybody what's going on. Interesting, isn't it? Number 5, always look to win a point even if you lose the argument. What does that mean? Well, simply, you might have lost a point on something. They've said something very valid. You're saying, well, it's not quite that, it's a bit more like this. And they go, no, it's exactly like that. You can turn around and say, yeah, but you did it twice. Interesting. You might not win the overall, but what you've done is tarred them with a similar brush, and so that you've lessened the impact that they can have walking away scot-free, saying, I did some really good stuff and I won that particular battle. Number 6, plays of a home audience. I've already said that. Plays of a home audience, plays of the audience that's in the studio, they are key. They are the moral authority and the emotions and the Wi-Fi code of anybody who then goes back to watch it later. There will be people who miss the debates, there will be people who watch it later, but they will pick up on, remember, they're there to judge, so they're picking up on what the rest of the audience is thinking, and that makes a big difference. Number 7, have showman statements and facts prepared. What do those mean? Well, when I show you my blind date show, at some point I'll show you exactly how it went through, and I'll break down how I won it and how I made sure I came out of it with the best possible credentials and the job offers that came afterwards. So how does that matter for this? Well, think about the fact that you've got this big build-up towards a huge debate, in a presidential debate or going on stage and a part of a panel or whatever it would be. Q&A session at a big conference, whichever, it doesn't matter. This same principle. You know that they're going to ask you a number of different questions. So write down every single question you could be asked. Write down all the horrible questions you could be asked. Write down all the easy questions that you could be asked. And write out answers with bullet points for every single one and rehearse them. Now the odds are 30% might get asked, maybe 70%. Very rarely 100%. But you want to make sure whatever the angle is, you have a way of dealing with it. So you can come back with that and come back with that and come back with that. Is it rehearsed? Yes, it is. Does it seem rehearsed to the audience? No, not really. You may have some notes in front of you, but even so, it feels like it's off the cuff, because the thing is, the audience is judging you by what you managed to achieve as a soundbite. As long as it sounds like it's okay, even if you look away and you focus and you slow it down and you pace it the way that you want it to, the audience will still say, yeah, you scored some points at that. But you've got to rehearse it and make sure you know what the things are going to be. In this particular case, it would be knowing what the other person's going to say to the things that you're going to say, and what you need to do is come back on it. Lots of different levels, really interesting. By the way, as always, I love your thoughts and your comments as I go. I do get very excited, I do speak quite quickly, and if you just join me, this is Speak on Stage, and as you can see, we're talking about the presidential debate. I'd love to know your thoughts on it as well. Number 8, as I've mentioned there, practice all scenarios. Winning, losing, pulling a draw, things get boring, things get heated, moderator gets wound up, moderator decides to talk over everybody, moderator tells you to shut up. All those things, you need to have a way of dealing with it to bring it back on track again. Sometimes it's an apology, sometimes you don't apologize. Sometimes that's seen as a sign of weakness, but remember, you've got 4 different plates that are spinning. You've got your competitor in front of you, you've got your moderator who's hosting it, you've got your audience who are there who could be on anybody's side or completely neutral, and you've also got the audience at home who could be on anybody's side or completely neutral. Now, one of the things about this particular debate is it seems to me, from an outsider's point of view, those who love Trump and those who love Biden are not going to be changed by anything that happened on that stage. So who's a battleground about? What is the point in doing it? Well, here's the thing I think is so fascinating about it. This was about the neutrals. This was about the undecideds. This is about the people who don't really know which way they want to vote, who are watching it keenly to see who they can justify would be the person they want in charge for the next 4 years. That's the audience that we're particularly talking about. The others are going to cheer and boo as you expect them to. So maybe, if anything, that actually brings together 5 audiences, because you've got your undecideds as the people that are really your studio audience and you really want to get an impact to. Number 9, look confident and honest and transparent all the time. Why is that important? Well, the thing is, it's difficult to do a thing like this. Whenever you're speaking, whenever you're on stage, the audience is going to be looking at you and looking to see what you don't say, looking to see if you have stress, if you look challenged, if you say one thing but it looks like you mean another. So always make sure that you drive it. Remember, you're acting effectively. This doesn't have to be a real you. This is a you on a stage. So what you're doing is you're acting as if this is completely transparent. This is a real me. I'm always confident. I'm getting exactly what I wanted from this. And even if I get off guard, I kind of knew you'd say that. And that's why I knew that I'd say this next. Play the game. Always look transparent unless you decide that you want to have something else, which is, I'm glad you said that, we've got a plan which I haven't told you about, and I don't intend to tell you because I know you'll steal everything in it. And I'll keep that for myself and tell you later. Now that's not being transparent, but it is being transparent about a plan, even if you haven't got one. So many angles, isn't it? So many things you could do. So, okay, let's look at number 10. Thanking everyone for participating. Kind of important. Why should you thank everyone for participating? Because then you've got the graciousness of the people watching at home saying, you know what? Even if I don't agree with that person's politics, I respect them as a person. And when you've got an undecided audience, respect when you don't particularly like or hate either of them, sometimes is a way of scoring points. If you walk away in a huff, or you walk away treating everybody like they've been muck at this event, that can have a big effect on people because they just go, you know what, that wasn't very fair, I don't like anybody, and they decide not to vote. And this one will be down to the wire about actually who does vote. All right, number 11, act as if it was exactly as planned. I've kind of mentioned this before. Everything has to look deliberate. Everything looks like it's forming to plan because people will watch you and they'll see your actions and they'll say, did you look flustered? And you can get away with a ton of things, as we've already said, without getting into the politics of the two people on stage, just by saying, I know what I'm doing. I'm an expert. You'll see the evidence. Just trust me and you'll be fine. For a ton of people, I won't go into a conversation about masks, but let's take that for an example. Those who do believe in masks, those who don't believe in masks, believe in it because of very simply what the person on stage has said about it, and also what the science or the evidence around it has got them to believe. So it's very important you do get the right angle on that. Number 12, make sure that you get the pre-planned clips out as soon as you can. What do I mean by that? Well, very simply, once you've done it, remember this is not just a battle of what goes on the stage. People want to see the show. And they want, I say a show, it's not just a broadcast. People who haven't seen it will not watch the whole thing unless they really die hard. I mean, I already know that most people just go, no, just tell me what happened or show me the clips. So the clips are important. And in a world of social media doctoring and a world of spin and a world of delaying and making a comment and showing people some evidence, even if it didn't happen like that, that's the new battleground. That's the one that the people will take away. And you can end up losing something, but winning later because people reflect it and go, that was great. I didn't see it at the time, but you know what? I think you're absolutely right. The same way as you can start off by winning and then buying it back. If you've ever had a sale, for instance, where you've gone in and you got the sale and you're so excited about the sale, you go, you know what? I'm so glad I'm working with you. We worked with these other guys, we worked with those guys, and we did this, we did that, we did that. And you can end up buying it back, where the client who said yes gets buyer's remorse and goes, you know what, I don't really want to work with you anymore because I can't stand the idea of you being in my face after I've just decided a yes. The correct thing to do in sales is once you've got a yes, get out. Get out of the office. Thank you, I'll send you the paperwork, and you leave. If you don't do that, then you will end up with a situation where they may turn around and go, I want to think about it a bit longer. You don't want that. And then rinse and repeat. What do I mean by rinse and repeat? Well, very simply, all you need to do is make sure that everything you've shared there literally goes on again and again and again. All the clips, all the bits, all the stuff that people are talking about, you want to make sure that everybody sees them on a regular basis. And those are the things that I would say are the key elements of having the battleground and the debate that you've just seen. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did talking about it. And now let's have a look at how you can become a great speaker too. The Industry Icon program is how I teach people to be really effective speakers, to grow their brand, maybe have a TV show like this, write a book, podcast, do social media, or just be seen as one of the biggest and most effective people in your industry. Right now, it's completely strange. Everything's on lockdown or it's coming out of it slightly, but the people who are perceived as the big winners and the people perceived as the industry leaders, many of them are finding that their industry has changed right in front of them. Bricks and mortar is being surpassed by digital, and those in digital are having to change to a different angle. Part of it is letting people catch up. Part of it is looking at where things are going in the future. Certainly in events in the UK was an $86 billion industry. Right now, all the weddings, all the conferences, all the nightclub events, everything is on hold. So where do you go with that? Well, the key to it is if you had industry leaders at the time, they are probably frozen. Right now in the entertainment business, you've got all the pop stars, all the film stars, all the TV stars at home waiting for things to lift. Most of them are unable to create something because they're used to being mic'd up with a microphone, or used to cameras being switched on, and they're used to somebody giving them a script, and they're used to having an audience that claps and cheers. Without that, they're not able to reinvent themselves. But if you can, it's a massive opportunity to do something really special. So if you're interested in that, come to me, contact me straight away. Go to SpeakOnstage.com. We've got a number of training modules to get you up to speed. Very cost effective as well. But if you want to talk to me about where you could be in your particular industry, and I really do think this is a huge opportunity to be able to brand yourself as a leader in your industry while everybody else is licking their wounds, go to SpeakOnstage.com, click on the icon where it goes to industry icon, and book a 10 to 15 minute session with me, and we have a chat about where I believe that you could be in the future. Really important, really powerful, and it's as a speaker. If you're looking for a job, Dave could get me a job, don't fill it up. That's not what this is all about. It's about repositioning you through speaking, through branding, and understanding the mindset of what really creates success in the world. Hope you're fascinated by that. I love this. It really excites me too. So with that, it's come to the end of the show. Hope you really enjoyed it. All about this, the presidential debate, and I hope I explained everything exactly as I see it. Again, not choosing sides. There's going to be a couple more debates, and in those debates you'll get to see who did what, who said what, and you'll be able to make up your own opinion about who does the most important things. I really do think I buy into, as I mentioned, the 13 keys of Alan Lichtman. You should look at them up and see what he predicts is going to be the end result. He actually predicts that Biden will win, and it's not necessarily because Biden will win, it's because Biden has already won because the 13 keys have been divided up already long before this whole process started. Look at it, because one thing that it says as a proviso is that you have to have clean elections, and you have to make sure that all the things that happen on the debating stage, not the debating stage so much, all the things that happen with the process are done in a clean and transparent way. So you could win, but then you could lose, and that's the only thing he said could be different. I'm not judging, I'm not saying anything. You can choose and you will see by what happens, but it's a very exciting time to be alive and looking at what's going on in the world. Tomorrow we've got another great show for you. As always, I try and bring you some exciting stuff. Tomorrow it's all about your mindset, and I hope you enjoyed today's. Please share it, please give your comments. It's been a pleasure spending quality time with you, and I'm going to leave you one of my music videos. This one's called Maybe, and it's all about if you could reinvent yourself, how would you position yourself in a brand new world, and does it make any difference? I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. This is Speak on Stage. Why are we here? Is there some massive reason, some huge pattern, some strategy, some solution, some formula that says all people are here to contribute to some amazing journey? The way we've been from the past, the road behind us, the road ahead, is all part of some amazing plan that nobody told us all about? Or maybe, just maybe, we're all an accident. Maybe there is no design. Maybe right now, just like the dinosaurs, just like everything that came before us and everything that's going to come after us, this is just our time. You're waiting for some divine reason to prove to you why it all makes such sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe the chance to have a different religion is all based on the country you're born in, the TV you watched, the friends you had, the parents and how they grew up, and also the airline above you that sends people on their own trips and their own journeys. Maybe it's a quirk of fate that you are the color you are, and the people that share lives with you are just an accident as well. Maybe the pets that you have with you and the friends that you choose are all by accident, but the only one thing that you have is choice. What you do about it, how are you going to let it affect you, and what are you going to do next? Supposing all that was true, and there is no pattern, there is no end game, and one day you'll be dead, would you approach things differently?
Would you enjoy everything better? And would you learn to tell people, sometimes just to kiss it, a lot faster, so you can get on with your life? I know where I sit on this. My question to you is, where do you sit?